Supposed to be about 10 minutes with 5 minutes for questions.
Correct.
Okay, so I want to start with just reviewing who the informatics core leads are. They're listed here. Myself, David Floran, Bar Van Osen, Steve Crystal, and Yi Chen from NJIT. The original aims are listed here. The first was to integrate data from disparate clinical and research sources and expand them into an existing IRB, HIPAA, and Federal Information Security Management, otherwise known as FISMA, compliant clinical research data warehouse in a protected environment that will make the linked data accessible to researchers. So the key there is that we're capturing data from multiple sources, but also that we are linking it together so that we can see all of the data that may be available on a particular patient. The second goal is to enhance informatics for clinical and translational research so that we can foster the rapid deployment of research findings into clinical practice. So this will include things such as clinical trial management, data capture, and importantly, on the application side, dynamic clinical decision support delivered via electronic health records. The third major goal is to augment our analytics capacity across the research enterprise, including the acquisition, licensing, linkage, and maintenance of large administrative data sets on secure platforms, and also to develop advanced analytic methods and support for systems in computational biology. The last is to link the science of informatics to training across the workforce continuum. So the first thing I want to show you is the, as far as making all the data in our enterprise, in the clinical enterprise available for research. As I think all of you know, the health system and Rutgers together are implementing EPIC across the entire clinical enterprise, including all the Rutgers clinical sites and all of the RWJ Barnabas clinical sites. And as you can see at the top, the title, the name that's been given to this project is EPIC Together, to emphasize the fact that this is a collaboration that not only brings Rutgers and the health system together, but also brings together all of the various components of the clinical enterprise. I'm not going to go into all the details of this timeline. I just want to point out that here we are in the fourth quarter of 2020, and our first go live, which will involve all of the ambulatory practices in New Brunswick, including the Cancer Institute and Eric V. Chandler, is scheduled for April 30th of 2021. So it's less than 6 months away now. The second go live will include the rest of the ambulatory practices, and will also include our first hospital. Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital will go live in the third wave, which is in the spring of 2022. So we're making enormous progress on this, and this is really going to be transformative as far as making clinical data available for research. The first goal there, the second major goal was to develop a clinical research data warehouse. And so what I'd like to do at this point is turn the discussion over to Bar Van Osen, who has been leading this effort with David Foran. So Bar, can you just walk us through this slide?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Thanks, Frank. So this is really our current data ecosystem. So as Ray pointed out in the beginning, there's the Encore piece in Deep 6, and the CRDW, which is the Clinical Research Data Warehouse, was originally designed by David Foran's group in the Cancer Institute. And we decided that it was a great model for the NJX. And in a partnership between the Cancer Institute, Central IT, and my office, and several others, we've built it out, and now it is taking data from Barnabas. In fact, the first data, COVID-19 data, has been transferred and is now being input into it. So it is active and in use, which is exciting. So and it's designed to be able to handle both structured and unstructured data. So it's very versatile, and in the process of turning it into a core service. So you want to go to the next slide?
Okay, well, I just wanted to point out that for those who don't know, Deep6 is a product. It's actually the name of a company that has a product that is natural language based and AI based, that is able to use our clinical data to very rapidly identify candidates for clinical trials. And we've done a pilot study with this, which was very successful. It showed the system was able to identify a significantly larger number of candidates for clinical trials than would have been possible using our simple database query methods previously. Okay, so here's the next slide, and then this is still for Bar to discuss.
Correct. So so what we're trying to do is build out an informatics ecosystem. So we have the data component, and then we also need the analytics tools to be able to take the data and learn from it. And so my team has built out an OpenStack environment that is planned. We're going through the risk analysis right now. The idea is that it'll be coupled directly to the clinical research data warehouse and be able to take in data from other sources, and we can build out these secure environments where people can do analytics on different types of data. So as Frank mentioned, one of our areas that we're interested in is the aggregation of data and pull it into an environment where people can really do interesting statistical analysis or machine learning. And so this is the environment that would allow us to be able to do this. And then we're also interested in the Epic Cognitive Compute platform. So the idea is we bring the data from the Epic system into here, we do the analysis, we design the machine learning tools, and then we move it back into the Epic system so that doctors on the front lines can then use those models for patients as they come in. So for example, COVID-19 would be a great example. The Google Cloud Platform is a project that David Ferren and I have been working very closely with Google on, and so create an instance of the CRDW in the cloud. We went through a successful proof of concept, and the idea is that we'd like to sort of build out this entire informatics ecosystem so people can pull data in, do analytics on-prem, can do analytics in the cloud, tie it directly to the NIH Strides platform, use your ERA Commons credentials to be able to pull data from NIH and back into their into the Strides environment. So really this full ecosystem. And then the tool sets that we're incorporating in it, so the genomics, your typical statistical packages, and then your AI deep learning packages as well. So anything open source we can place in here. And if you've got a specific software that needs to go in here, you bring a license, we can install it for you. So it's really designed to be sort of a self-contained instrument to be able to do the analysis.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I wanted to mention a very important project that we've been involved in, and this is a collaboration with a consortium that is led by NYU, and a significant number of other CTSA sites are involved in this project. The basic project that we're involved in has to do with capturing data from institutions that are treating COVID-19 patients and standardizing the data and pooling them into a single database that can then be used for exploratory analysis. I'm not going to go through all of the details of this because we don't have enough time in this presentation, but I just wanted to point out the name of our part of the project is called Combat COVID, and I can't tell you off the top of my head what all those letters stand for, but it's moving along quite well, and we're very close to being able to contribute data from the Rutgers and RWJ-Barnabas sites. Okay, I also wanted to mention a number of ongoing efforts. Again, there's not time to go through all these in detail, but the Institute for Health has continued its work on acquiring and managing large administrative data sets, and has in particular focused on analyses of opioid use and related outcomes. The EPIC implementation I mentioned to you before. Encore is a clinical trial management system that was first used in the Cancer Institute and has now been expanded to an enterprise system and is in the process of being fully implemented and integrated with EPIC. Deep 6 AI I mentioned, this is an AI-based system that will facilitate identification of candidates for clinical trials. We have a collaboration with Princeton University on machine learning in the area of behavioral health. And we also have a number of and growing number of collaborations with NJIT, particularly in the area of natural language processing and extraction of data from EHRs. These are some NJIT Informatics projects led by Yi Chen, who's one of our co-leads, analyzing and supporting online health communities. So this largely has to do with identifying and extracting information from social media, claims data analytics, which fits in very nicely with the work that the Institute for Health is doing, and information extraction on clinical data. And this is a collaboration between Yi Chen and David Furian. These are some of the core interactions, by no means all of them. And we have interactions with the community, with BIRD, with regulatory. And I just wanted to highlight one of these in particular. Under regulatory, there have been two major accomplishments. One is the establishment of a new single overarching data governance council that involves leadership from both Rutgers and the RWJ-Barnabas Health System. And recently, partly as a result of that, but really more motivated by the Combat COVID project that I mentioned before, we have established our first formal data use agreement between Rutgers and RWJBH. It's limited to that project, but it serves as a template for future agreements, and it has allowed us to work out a lot of the details that will make future agreements, and in particular, a more general comprehensive data use agreement between the two organizations much easier to achieve in the future. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
Great job, Frank. Also want to mention the educational component of the informatics we pulled out, and that'll be showcased in the career development theme, in the next theme and next block because of the time. As you can see, the informatics is really a critical piece to all the course success. It is going to be a critical piece for our metrics and metrics analysis also. And the case use of the OMOP generated data going to NYU is really exciting. We could take a question, maybe, if people would, if there's a question or two, otherwise we'll move on to community. I see none in the chat, so let's move on, Frank. I'm sure there'll be something that'll come up. Thank you, that was very crisp, spot on.